Okay, let's start, and people can keep joining. So, guys, good evening and welcome. This is the third time I'm doing it. And the first time, that is 2 weeks back, I spoke about organizational wellness. Last week, I talked about team wellness. And today, I'm talking how about leading with compassion and purpose. The three sessions are nested into each other: organization, teams, leading, and you could also look at leading, creating teams, creating a healthy organization. So let me start with a live example, a live case study. It is 2009, New Resource Bank in California. It was one of the good banks over there. The bank had started, losing its purpose. The bank was going in the red, and the bank needed someone to turn it around. Otherwise, it would have closed. So the bank hired Vincent Ciliano, again a well-established professional banker, to help them turn around the bank. Vincent comes in, he works very hard for 2 years, and the bank turns around. Everyone is very happy. The management is very thrilled. After a year, Vincent takes an employee survey. How are the employees performing, and how are they perceiving him and the bank? And to his utter surprise, he found that the employees were low on morale. There was high levels of dissatisfaction. Now Vincent says, okay, because there has been so much churning within the organization, there's been so many changes, the employees are rattled, well, time will take care, and he takes no action and continues. Another year passes, the second employee survey happens, and this time, every employee points his and her finger towards Vincent and says, this man is crap. Now, Vincent is taken by shock, he's surprised, he's confused, and he's angry. But then, when his anger goes away, he says, look, if the employees for the last 2 years are saying, and the employees are believing, then let me see, where did I go wrong? He introspects. And what he finds was he had failed to communicate the purpose of all the changes he was making to the employees. Number two, in his urgency to turn around the bank, he had trampled on the concerns of the employees. Number three, he did not focus on people, he just focused on the rules, on the rule books, the circulars. And this was why? Because he was not leading with his heart, he was leading with his head. And he realized that his ego had run totally amok. He had disregarded people totally. People were working more out of fear rather than commitment. And they were absolutely not motivated. So Vincent now becomes mindful of his behavior and starts practicing empathy. And within a year, the opinion of the employees change. There's happiness all around. The teams have become high-performing teams, fully motivated, focusing on relationships and results. So what was the difference between the earlier Vincent, who turned around the bank, and the second Vincent? The difference was empathy. In the earlier times, Vincent did not practice empathy. Later on, once he realized, he started practicing empathy, and then the bank grew and grew and grew. I'm sure you must be hearing this word empathy quite a bit these days. Every second article talks of empathy. Every second person talks of empathy. And, well, you see, I will I'll give my answers to the comments at the end, right? So that the flow does not break. But I promise I'll answer each and every comment and question. And please feel free to keep posting your comments, and your questions. Now, what is empathy? The popular definition is, wearing someone else's shoes and trying to understand the feelings of the other person. Well, yes, this is empathy, but this is a very narrow empathy. First of all, empathy is present in all of us. Like we go to a gym and build our muscles. Similarly, in the mental gym, we can build the empathy quotient in us. Secondly, empathy is a two-way traffic. Empathy is feeling the echoes of the other person inside you, feeling what the other person is feeling or experiencing inside you. And number two, communicating to the other person that he or she is not alone. And for that, you need to connect with the heart. Now, and when it comes to leadership in business, it is all about developing the ability to relate to and connect with people for the purpose of empowering and inspiring their lives. Now, on the face of it, this seems to be a very one-to-one sort of a purpose, inspiring their lives, and what has business got to do with empathy, one individual's life, etc., etc. So, okay, and you could ask me, so empathy and business, they make very strange bedfellows. We don't understand this thing. Well, if we look at business, what is business? Business is primarily a relationship between three sets of people. One set are the people who build the business, the owners. The other set of people are the people who work for the owners. And the third set of people are the customers who consume the services and the products created by the owners and the people who work for the owners. Now, this is the business triangle. And on all the three arms, we have people over there. And these people, they bond with each other, they help each other in order to help themselves. Now, and what binds them together? One is purpose and one is empathy. Purpose. You see, a group of people do not constitute a team like I said last year. It is the common purpose and mutual interdependency which creates a team. And the purpose is where there is something for everyone. At the end, I'll talk of the purpose in more detail, because with purpose comes the vision, and the vision is the destination. And the destination needs to be much larger than the team so that everyone is motivated, is inspired, and strives and finds meaning in working for the organization. So let's come back to empathy. Research has determined. There was a study by Catalyst. Now, Catalyst is a big HR company of 889 employees. And what they found was when leaders are empathetic, they practice empathy, innovation went up to 61% from 13%. Employee engagement went up to 76% from 32%. Retention went up to 60% from 17%. Inclusiveness went up to 50% from 17%. And the work-life balance, 86% reported to have a better work-life balance vis-a-vis the earlier 40%. So there's a lot of empirical data which talks about the impact of the positive impact of empathy in an organization. Like I said earlier, it's a skill and we all have it, and we can develop the skill. How do you develop the skills? Now, this is something interesting. And when you develop empathy in yourself, it's not only you benefit your teams and the organization, you also benefit your life. And what is the starting point? The starting point is a deep self-awareness. Why do you behave in the manner you behave, and what makes you behave in the manner you behave? A deep self-awareness, that is the starting point. Because when you are trying to understand the feelings of the other person, and in case you are reacting and you cannot absorb the feelings of the other person, then how can you help the other person? So logically, first is deep self-awareness. Second is to learn to respond and not react. If you see, if you look into yourself, majority of times you are reacting. And after saying something or taking some action, you land up repenting and you say, oh, why did I do it? So that is a reaction which has to stop. You need to learn to respond. The third thing is you got to become intentional listener, which is called mindful listening. You got to be present over there. You got to focus on what the person is saying and absorb it without making judgments. A lot of time, we do not hear the other person in totality. We hear half a sentence, or say even if we hear the full sentence, we judge the person, we make our own assumptions, and we are eager to respond to it. So mindful listening is primarily making the other person feel that you are listening with all your senses, with your heart, and you are providing the person a safe haven so that the person could speak to you. And the next is connect with your heart. You see, now we have two things. One is our mind, which works with the brain, and the heart. Now, when you connect with your brain or your mind, what are you thinking constantly? You are thinking, what benefit will I get from connecting with so-and-so, or becoming a friend with so-and-so? And believe me, thoughts and emotions are contagious. And when you relay this thing, and these thoughts get relayed to the other person becomes defensive, and your relationship and connection does not prosper. And when you connect with your heart, there is you open up, the other person opens up to you, the other person feels safe with you, because the heart only knows one thing: good for all and good of all. And lastly, it is you need to accept reality as it is. What is. If it's black, accept it as black. Again, if you look into yourself and if you look around yourself, you'll find a lot of people, who bring excuses into the reality. Oh, if I have not done good, it is because of this reason. The fact is, you have not done good. If I have failed to deliver, the fact is, you have failed to deliver. Now, whether your car broke down or whether you had a fight at home, those are secondary. Accept the truth. That is very important. And if someone of you had attended my the first session, I talked of phases. That was flexibility, adaptability, coherence, energy, and stability. Yes, this is the foundation for developing empathy. Now the question is, you have developed empathy. How do you practice empathy in your professional life and in your personal life? Now I'll give you 6 steps formula. Number 1, like I said earlier, okay, if you say, I understand the other person, no, you cannot understand the person. You can try to understand the person. Because the moment you say, I understand the other person, what you land up doing is you land up with the real understanding, you land up mixing it with assumptions and presumptions, which dilutes the understanding. So the first step is be very clear that you are trying to understand the other person. And in trying to understand the other person, what do? We try and put ourselves in the shoes of the others. We hear attentively. And then we think, had I been in this person's place, how would I have felt? It's difficult, but nevertheless, we need to do that. How would I have felt? It's quite likely that your reaction might have been different. The other person's reaction is very different. But then you don't take a judgment, you accept whatever information is coming into you. Number two, investigate the underlying feelings. Now, if I'm saying, okay, guys, I was angry, I was this, and this thing happened, and I want to do this thing. See, ask questions to understand. Ask, am I understanding you correctly? And restate it. Or say, tell me more. Make the person speak up. Because a number of times we use wrong words, and mostly the same word means different things to different people. Or you can ask a simple question, what's on your mind? And the person expands much more, and then you get what you want to get. The next is, now since the person is speaking to you or telling you, and you are trying to feel the other person's experience, making a judgment is a big no-no. You don't make a judgment, because once you start making a judgment, empathy is gone. Because you have to communicate to the other person that you are there for the person and you are not judging. And when this communication goes, the person opens up much more. Once again, verify the accuracy of what you have understood and what you are hearing by asking simple questions. Have I heard you right? And try this thing even in your personal relationships. Believe me, the quality of your relationships will improve. And just try it out. Don't let it be only for your professional relationships. It works equally well in personal life also. Offer your support. Well, I understand you. I can help you this way. And lastly, and this is very important, you see, people are talking of empathy. Empathy is great. We have discussed and I've told you, but at the same time, do you know this thing? When you start feeling the emotions of the other person, and if you fail to draw a line, the emotions of the other person or the feelings of the other person become so overwhelming that you start living them. And this is called negative empathy. Now, if the other person is puzzled, confused, right, is frustrated, and you start living his or her experience, will you be in a position to help the person? Obviously, no. Because then you will start experiencing and believing that you are also frustrated. And why would this happen? Because our brain does not distinguish between the feelings of the other people and your feelings. For it, all feelings are alike. Therefore, it becomes very important that we detach ourselves. And there's an emotional detachment while practicing empathy. Now, since emotional detachment is not a simple thing, so I believe that instead of empathy, you practice compassion. Now, what is compassion? Compassion is empathy plus ambition. Ambition to help the other person. Now, you could ask me that it's only an addition of ambition. Why can't compassion go negative? The compassion does not go negative because the thoughts of empathy are managed and processed in a particular area of your brain, while the thoughts of compassion are processed in a totally different area. Secondly, when you practice compassion, your focus has shifted from feeling what the other person is feeling to helping the other person. And that makes the entire difference. Now, what are the characteristics of an empathetic leader in a business? Number one, since he's practicing empathy, compassion, he's approachable. He's open to all. Number two, the person is concerned, takes care of his peers, takes care of his teams, takes care of the employees, is very inclusive. He's not that secret type. He's not that military type. Oh, I have told you this, do this. No, he's inclusive. He involves people. He or she involves people in making decisions, in implementation, in planning. Flexible. The person is flexible. He or she is open to suggestions, open to new knowledge, open to new ideas. There's an environment. He creates an environment of motivation and empowerment within the organization. He delegates. His or her focus is community, not himself. And the empathetic leader has got very high levels of awareness. Awareness of what? Self-awareness, organizational awareness, and social awareness. And how do all these things benefit the business? Number one, when an empathetic leader leads in true empathetic manner, there is a sense of purpose and belonging in the teams. There's a higher affinity quotient in the employees. They want to do much more and much better for the organization. They're highly motivated and empowered. A culture of motivation and empower comes in, and it trickles down through the layers, right from the top to the bottom. Employees are happier and healthier because when someone takes care of them, the stress levels go down, so they sleep better, they are more open-minded, they think better, they perform better, which results in higher success. And let me tell you one thing, success leads to short-term happiness, but happiness leads to long-term success. And when success and happiness is there, automatically the physical health, mental health, emotional health of the employees also increases. Now, in empathy and in compassion, since the communication is there that we are there for you, we are standing by you, obviously there's greater trust and care, a sense of greater trust and care, which in turn, makes people back up for each other, leading to higher effectiveness and productivity. And higher effectiveness and productivity from the company standpoint or the corporate standpoint leads to better results. High performing teams lead to better results, healthier bottom lines, healthier top lines. Now, coming back to purpose, I said I'll be talking about purpose in the end. Purpose is that binding factor which makes the people connect with each other, help each other, support each other, and achieve the common goal. Now, like a stack of bricks does not build a house. They get converted into a house only when cement is used, and the cement is used, and the cement is put on the bricks, and they're joined. Similarly, purpose is the cement which makes the three set of people stick with each other, help each other to help themselves. So this was again, like I usually give a stadium view of leading with empathy and purpose. Okay, over here it's written leading with compassion and purpose. So I've also covered compassion. So guys, now let me take the questions and the comments. Okay. Tarun says, very good point, sir. RJ says, sometimes in the heat of the moment, I tend to say things I don't mean. Okay. How do you prevent overreacting? It's a very good question. And there's a technique called pause. You know, what happens is, if you see, whenever you react in the heat of the moment, there is some changes in your body, some sensation, your heartbeat might go faster, you might perspire, or there might be a churning in your stomach, you see, or there could be some tension. So certain sensations or certain changes happen in the body before you speak or take the action. Now, the idea is that we should learn to identify those things, I mean, those changes in the body which are happening, and just give half a second to allow it to pass. Now, in this half a second, what happens? The stimulus which went to our emotional brain called the amygdala, which only knows fight or flight, because it is trained to keep you safe, right? Gets short-circuited, and that stimulus goes to your prefrontal cortex, that is your thinking mind, and then instead of reacting, you respond. And what is this process of pause? You can remember STOP, S-T-O-P. S standing for stop whatever you are doing. O for observe what is happening inside you. Sorry, stop doing what you are doing. T stands for take a few deep breaths. O stands for observe what is happening inside you. And P stands for proceed. You might say that, look, this is a tedious process. What can I do? Yes, initially it looks tedious, but believe me, the more you practice it, shorter it would become. And it would become so reflexive that you won't even realize that when you are doing it, and you will just do it automatically. And you'll find your levels of reactions, your levels irritation, your levels of anger, everything goes down substantially. Any other question? Guys, I'll be happy to answer. So when you guys put in the chat box, what is one thing that you're taking home today? RJ, Tarun, Vayan, Samir, Abhishek, Shivani. Process for having hard conversation. Okay. Brilliant. When you're having a conversation, Vivan, how good is your hearing? I have found that 90% of us, we just do not hear what the other person is saying. So if you want to have a conversation, I'll give you 4 steps. Okay. First of all, obviously, it is very important that it's very important that you listen mindfully. And when you're listening mindfully, what is the first thing you do? You observe. You observe what is happening in the other person. You observe what is the other person trying to communicate. Okay. Number two, feel. You feel. Number three, you determine your needs. Now you'll say, where are my needs? You see, now if someone is saying, Vivan, you should have done this thing, instead of just reacting, you have observed the other person has said this thing. You have seen the feelings of the other person. You also now see how you are feeling. Are you feeling agitated, not agitated? What was your need, right? Your need was to hear something very different. That was your need. So you express your need. So, okay. Now, so it is observe, feel, need, and express. And try this thing out. It'll take some practice. And you can also search a book called Non-Violent Conversations, Non-Violent Communication. It's a brilliant book. Go through it. It'll change your relationships in totality. Compassion, same as empathy? No. Compassion is a stage higher than empathy. It is a stage higher than empathy. Like I said, empathy is just communicating to the other person that I can feel what you are feeling. It stops over there. In compassion, you add the element of your ambition to help the other person to rise above his or her feelings. So, empathy plus ambition to help is compassion. Only feeling is empathy. Okay, from LinkedIn, very sad to leave the live session. I was not aware of the program. Talk to you soon. Regards. Okay, no name is there. Any other thing? So, Vivan, does that answer your question? Hard conversations? And let me tell you one thing more. Even if you can't do these 4 steps, just listen with intention. Do not react and do not form judgment. Allow it to sink in. Think about it and respond. And don't be in a rush to respond. Have you ever seen the highly successful people? They never immediately respond. You ask a question, they'll take a second or two, and then they will respond. Any other question, guys? Well, in case there's no question, I like to keep my sessions short. And I would request all of you to look me up on LinkedIn, follow me. I keep writing about all these things over there. I majorly write about management and leadership and about organization development and personal development. Now, Harshit says, when dealing with a hard management, any tip? Now, what do you mean by hard management? Okay, one that does not really understand your problem. Okay. Harshit, the first thing is, have you expressed your needs? Have you expressed your feelings? Or have you just reacted? Because when you express your needs, people tend to listen to you much more. And when you react, they tend to cut you off. Now, Harshit says, boss that doesn't hear you. Well, Harshit, yes, this is a big problem. There are a lot of managers who are still in the old mindset. They are not leaders, they are primarily managers. They think that they are the slave masters and they can keep driving people. What best can be done is we need to structure our communication around their style of listening, because everyone listens to someone or the other, or has got certain styles, with which that person resonates. So when you want to communicate something, you got to evaluate, you got to think. And when I say think, I mean you need to respond, not react. And the moment you stop reacting and start responding, believe me, Harshit, you will start finding answers to the problems. Because when you react, your reaction is always against, because you had perceived the result to be in a certain way, it didn't come your way, you are feeling pained inside, therefore you are reacting. Okay, the reality is it has not come your way. Accept it, it has not come my way. And the moment you accept it, it has not come my way, your mind will automatically starts looking for solutions, that how can you make it come your way. Well, that has helped me in great, I've been benefited greatly by this tendency to stop reacting and start responding. Any other thing which you would like to ask me, you guys? So, well, brilliant. I'll not be here next week because I'm traveling. But yes, after that week, I plan to come up with a series to help you guys to prepare yourself for success and happiness. How many of you would be interested in knowing actionable tools and tips which will help you to bring in more efficiency and effectiveness in your life? Samir says yes. Come on. Who else? No, it's going to be here. It's going to be free. Don't worry. I'll not charge you. If you want to consult me, then something different. Yes, Abhishek. Thank you. Thank you, Vivan. And I'll be sharing would be great. Thanks, Ajay. And I'll be sharing with you what I have shared to train more than 500 college professors. Very simple and actionable, scientifically validated tools. So be on the lookout. I'm not here next week, but the week after that, I'll be again with you guys. So thank you, guys. And check me up on LinkedIn, follow me, and let's form a relationship. So thank you. And thank you very much for being here today. So I'm closing it now. Bye-bye. Good night. Bye.